Okay, I'm going to show you guys your SMRs. So remember, when you're looking at technique for dermatomes, cotton wool should be no bigger than the end of your finger. You get them to close their eyes and you would touch it, telling them to say when they feel it, asking if it's the same throughout the body, left and right, upper, lower body. There's no stroking. You don't want a big impulse. This is a small impulse. If you're doing the pinprick, again, eyes are closed. It's just a little touch with the sharp end of the MediPen. Okay? Put your hands, palms up for me. Just let them rest onto your lap. Okay, so looking at the dermatomal areas, C5, C6, lateral forearm, thumb and second finger. C7 is third finger. C8, fourth and fifth finger coming up the medial hand to medial forearm, and T1 is the inside of the elbow. Just spread your arms away for me for a second. L2, upper thigh. L3 is going to be the lower thigh. L4, if you just straighten your leg out for me, Tim. So L4 would be coming down the medial inside of the leg, coming down to the big toe. So if I show you on me, it's coming down the medial inside to the big toe, okay? L5 is the lateral lower leg coming down to the top of the foot, okay? And I know it's kind of hard to see, so the lateral leg coming down to the top of the big foot. S1 is going to be the sole of the foot coming up to the back middle calf, so about the belly of the gastroc. You're looking for numbness, reduced sensation, paresthesia, hypersensitivity, allodynia, any of those are your abnormals. Now, looking at your myotomes. So you need to support and isolate. Put your arms up for me. So I'm near the elbow, pulling away. C5 is bicep, okay? And then I would compare to the other side. You hold for 5 seconds. Push towards me. C7 is tricep. Flick your wrist up for me. C6 is brachioradialis. Notice I support underneath the wrist as close as possible. Turn your hand over, just curl that third finger. This is going to be flexor digitorum profundus, that's C8, it's a finger flexor. And T1, spread your fingers for me wide and just resist, keep it straight, resisted abduction of the fifth digit. Pop down onto your back for me. L2 and L3 you need to do laying down if possible, because looking at hip flexors and quads, they'll lean back and they'll translate, which is going to bring in the core muscles rather than keeping it isolated to the muscles you're testing. So just bend your knee towards your nose for me. These are big, strong muscles, so you need to make them work for it. Don't pull them off the bench, but you need to put a little effort into it. Resist. So this is L2, hip flexor. Okay, straighten your foot to the ceiling. L3 is the quadriceps. Okay, go ahead and pop up to stand for me. L4 is going to be heel walking, so step back for me a little bit. Okay, I'm going to be in front of him. He's going to come up onto his heels with his toes up, and I'm looking to see if there's any drop into the toes. Great. Stop, turn around, walk away on your tiptoes. This is S1. Again, I'm low down because sometimes the drop that you see, it's not that one is up and one is down. It might be a drop like this. So if you're not low, you will miss it. You got to be behind him, okay? L5 is going to be resisted. Come forward just a step for me. Raise your big toe. Is resisted dorsiflexion or extension of the big toe, okay? Now, coming into your reflexes, before reflexes, so your abnormals for the myotomes, lower motor neuron, flaccid weakness or paralysis, upper motor neuron, spastic weakness or paralysis. Looking at the reflexes, you've got the bicep tendon. You can get them to flex, just squeeze, good, relax all the way, good. And you use it, can you see how it's jumping? Doesn't need to be a big movement, okay, but you're just looking for a little jump. Make sure you guys can see that. So again, I'm just putting my finger down, I'm tapping my finger. Brachioradialis muscle runs like this, make a fist. You can see it pop up right here. You don't want to be on the side, you want to be around the bulk of the muscle where you can feel the tendon. Okay, relax. The wrist needs to be totally relaxed. And again, you can see that there's a little tiny jerk in the wrist as I'm giving him a little crank. Okay, coming in, that's going to be C6. C7 is tricep. I'm just going to get you to keep your shoulder nice and soft, so just let it relax. Now straighten your arm for me. I feel for the tricep tendon. Go ahead and relax it, and just let it all the way relax. People don't always like to give you their arms, so you got to wait until they do. And this one you do a straight right without any finger, okay? So you're just looking for the finger mark. Arm reflexes are not always as good as the leg reflexes. If you're struggling to elicit anything, get them to grit their teeth. Cross one leg over the other for me for a sec. Okay. Actually, go ahead and uncross. You're not quite flexible enough to do that. The leg is hanging out in the air, so there's anything. So I'm going to raise up the bench. Don't stand immediately in front because they might kick you if they're hyperreflexive. Find the patellar and then come down to the patella tendon. So I'm going to do this here. This is my side. Okay, you can still see that. I found the squishy bit, and you can see that when I palpate it, his leg comes forward, so I know I'm in the right place. And you can see the reaction being elicited, okay? The S1 is the Achilles tendon, so you palpate the bone of the calcaneus, you come up, give it a little squish, you should see the toes poke down, okay? So what I'm going to do is bring my hand onto the ball of the, you guys can't see this, I'm going to bring my hand into the ball of the foot. Okay, so I'm giving a little bit of dorsiflexion. I'm not holding him into a lot of dorsiflexion, but I'm just taking him out of that total relaxation to put a little tension into the tendon. I'm going to come up, palpate where I am, and again you can see the foot going down into my hand. So remember, this is graded, and what you're looking for is upper motor neuron is a hyperreflexive or clonus, which is where it continues to beat. Lower motor neuron is hyporeflexive or totally absent. 2+ is normal, so 3+ is hyperreflexia, 4 is going to be your clonus, whereas your 1+ is going to be hyporeflexia, and 0 obviously is totally absent. Now, if you're comparing these to your peripheral nerves, which you guys also have to test. Okay, peripheral nerves is greater amounts of skin innervation area. So let's just talk about it. So you've got, here's the bulk of the deltoid. The axillary nerve is just underneath it like a military patch, just where my hand covers, okay? Then what you've got, put your hands like this for me. Always do this from anatomical position, it makes things easier. You've got lateral cutaneous, skin effect only, medial cutaneous, skin effect only, okay? If I turn his hand over, here is the military patch. We know we've got the cutaneous muscles here. So the radial runs like a river down the posterior lateral aspect of the arm into the pool, into the back of the hand. Okay, that's going to be the radial. Your median nerve is going to be, and I'll show you just on me, median nerve is going to bisect the fourth finger, and it's going to be the palm of the hand, bisecting the fourth finger. Ulnar nerve is going to come down, and it's doing the medial aspect of the hand. Okay? Now, if I was testing the strength, so the radial nerve does the deltoid. So bring your arms up like this for me. This one you do together because the body is keeping you stabilized. Otherwise, again, he's going to, if I do this one, he's going to lean away. If I do them together, he stays centralized, resist. Same thing, I'm doing resisted action. This is one of the few you do together. Now, what I want you to do is tuck your elbow in. You're going to do this action, and I'm going to resist you. So push away. Nope. So you're going to do this action, and I'm going to resist you. Push away. Good. And so this is external rotation looking at teres minor. You compare left to right. The radial nerve does arm extension and wrist extension. So put your dukes up. So push, like I'm doing C7, and flick your wrists up. So this way for me, like I'm doing C6, okay? I'm doing the same thing, but I'm interpreting it differently. Lateral and medial cutaneous, there's nothing that you're testing there, it's skin effect only. The median nerve does wrist flexion, so pop your wrists up this way. So I'm testing flexion, and it does thumb opposition. So I could just get them to go finger and thumb against each other, and I could attempt to pull that apart or come across the fifth digit for me. That's fine, fourth digit works, and attempt to pull them apart, okay? And if you're looking at the ulnar nerve does a little bit of wrist flexion, so you might find a little weakness there, but it's primarily the intrinsic muscles of the hands. So curl your fingers around me, okay? And I try to resist opening. He's trying to keep them closed. I would say spread your fingers wide. Don't let me squeeze them together. Here, because these are not very strong, it's difficult to pick up weakness. So I need to compare them against each other. And now squeeze me, so I'm putting my fingers in there to test the strength of both of those together. If we were doing the, looking at the lower body, just stand up for me. Okay, so you've got the femoral nerve, which runs down the anterior thigh to the medial lower leg going down to the big toe. That's tested in the same way you do L2 and L3, hip flexion and knee extension. You've got lateral cutaneous, which is skin effect only, okay? The obturator nerve is the skin of the medial thigh. Come down to your back for me for a second. If I wanted to test this, it does adduction. So what I would do is get you to bend this leg. I stabilize the pelvis. I bring the leg I want to test out, so it allows him to do adduction. He wants to go that way, and I say resist. So try to bring your leg in. Okay? So I'm testing his ability to resist me as he tries to adduct, and that's the obturator nerve. If we were doing the sciatic that goes down the back of the calf, flip onto your stomach for me real quick. And so what I would do is I would just say, okay, I'm just going to bring your leg up a little bit. Okay, so it does hamstring action. So I'm just going to say, try to bring your heel towards your butt, the other way. There you go. And I would resist the action there and then compare. Okay, go ahead and pop up for me. The last but not least, so you've got your perineal nerve, which is just like L5 in its distribution. Lateral leg coming onto the top of the foot. The perineal picks up your toes, so he would do heel walking, or even just standing and against the wall, holding your heels up if he didn't have the balance, but it's also toe extension. So Tim, if you stand up for me for a sec. Okay. And so if we look at this with toe extension, lift up all your toes for me. Instead of just doing hallux, I'm doing all of them and then resisting. So keep it up, resist me. Okay, so I'm just doing the toes. Come up onto your heel. There you go. And I would get him to walk. So this is looking at the tibialis anterior. Put this part of your foot down and just lift up your toes now. This is testing toe extensibility. So you're looking at the ankle and in the foot. Okay, the tibial nerve, pick up your foot for me, is in the sole of the foot only. It does not go up the back of the calf. So I could get him to, it goes on tiptoe. I could get him to walk on tiptoe with me being behind him like before. And then the other thing I would do is sit down on the floor for me, or onto the bench for me, beg your pardon, is curl your toes around my, and I would resist. So curl, curl, curl. And now we try to resist toe flexion, okay? So again, you're looking at the ankle, which is looking at gastrosoleus, and you're looking at the toes, which is the intrinsic plantar flexors, okay? And that gives you a good start to work on these.